So we're glad to have you back in the studio. So, gentlemen, of course, last week images of children arrested in connection with the End Bad Governance, protest went round. The fact that they were looking very malnourished and a couple of them fainted in court. It was dramatic, and sparked a lot of local and international condemnation. Many accusing the government officials of starving them while they were in custody. And along the line, the AGF took over the case, and eventually the president requested that they be released, and I mean all the protesters be released from custody. And then afterwards, we've had CSOs, lawyers and all, and of course we've also had the House of Reps minority caucus come out to say that these children should be compensated for what they had to go through while in custody. Let me just get your reactions. I can already see Mr. Oshole smiling and nodding his head. I mean, like I said, it was a whole lot of drama, that shouldn't just have happened in the first place. But let's
see. I must say with all sense of regret that situation seems to have broken down. Governance seems to have broken down. In all sphere and all that. See, one thing I dreaded mostly when I was growing up was what they call the welfare house. I used to hear that welfare, they'll pick you and
we have that in Nigeria.
Yes,
okay.
It's what they call juvenile homes now. I'll take you to welfare. I say, wow, I never saw it, I never experienced it, but I dreaded it. Look, there is no crime that can go unpunished in any country. In the United States, you have kids being convicted. Some will not actually be sent to jail, but there are places they'll be kept until they become adults, attain adulthood. Now, depends on whatever crimes they committed. Then look at the gap, the administrative gap. Then you can't charge your phone on a transformer. There has to be from the power station to the transformer, then to the meter, then to the sockets. Whatever happened, and the president of any country like Nigeria will get so disconnected from issues. And that's why most people will say, look, don't blame the president. But we will have to blame the president over and over again, because there is option to knock the structures down. Knock them into entities that are manageable, so that I can get my phone plugged to a socket in my room. At the local level, let governance revolve around the people, so that when there are issues, they quickly dealt with. Okay. Now, so those keys had been kept. Even me, I didn't know such keys were kept. It was such, the shock was what? And so much insensitive on the part of the prison agencies that they brought them ragtag like that as well. But we are also here, and we saw Bobrisky claiming in all an audio, whether it was a real or fake, whatever the matter is in the court, that he paid for an apartment. Oh my God. See, we can't carry on being jokers. Now they've been released, whether it's based on sin, go and sin no more, giving 100,000 to do what? Then with mobile phones to call. Look, are those supposed to be classrooms? Are those supposed to be what I would call free and quality education? Where are those guys now? Are they being rehabilitated? And why the sudden interest of House of Representatives? Why hasn't, look, it took Berekete, radio station, to go on strike, shut down, because now before, so why is the House not making special kind of session to talk about out of school children? Now the children who are in school as well, how many of them can parents conveniently pay their school fees. See, you have purchasing power dwindling, you have cost of living skyrocketing, and to now indict yourself, you are arresting people on protest. Those guys around it took Russian flags or whatever. I've seen people hung American, Canadian flags in their cars and vehicles. So they were, whether they were asking Putin to come chase away the president, I wouldn't know. But then they were taken into the custody, but they were not armed. I thought that should have been dealt with within weeks, and maybe taught few lessons by reorientating them, not keeping them in perpetual custody. Now charging them for treason.
Exactly, which was where I was getting.
Treason.
Because looking at the charges.
So if a citizen is denied the chance of protesting, to protest peacefully, will you rather prefer him or her arming himself with grenades and guns? Everywhere you go, you see people doing protest, a one-man protest, a group protest. It is allowed. And it has become so indicting that the federal government never said these guys were armed. So if they weren't armed, how come they are being charged for treason? So I think the IG will have more to say to this.
let's have
well, before I go to the absurd, let me just say the level of objectivity. I think the arraignment is an indication that the administration still has regard for the rule of law. We've had governments in the past where they picked people on the street during protests, and we hardly hear of those people anymore. And not too many of them could just come up after a period and say we are arraigning them. It's rare. So the government has shown a sign of, we still have regard for the rule of law. So I think that's a credit to the government. Now, to their fault, those minors, after 90 days, like he said there's also a social collapse somehow. Because the moment the news came out, I went for our editorial meeting, and our publisher was like, how come that for 90 days, nobody talked about these children being in detention? Because during that protest, there was a report that they arrested protesters, some parts of the country. But thereafter, nobody talked about it.
Well, who is to be blamed for that? Because, I mean...
Well, like he said, he was not aware. Hold on, he was not aware.
From the videos and the pictures we get to see, we never really got to see those children, the minors. I don't know if I'm the only one. So okay, let me just allow you to finish up, because there's so many sides.
Those of us who have
everyone
a duty
was shocked
to monitor what goes on in society and in government, we're not aware.
Journalists.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Because that was the question on editorial meeting. I said, how come that we were not aware that these children were being detained all this long? Nobody was talking about it. He said he was not aware. You were not aware. Until the government now, on their own, say, okay, we are arraigning them. Everybody's shouting. The CSOs were not aware. Probably because none of them is a celebrity.
But shouldn't even the lawyer representing them also take it from that angle?
Perhaps he was also not aware. Because all the noise escalated when they were arraigned.
Yes.
But if a celebrity was arrested on that protest day, the noise would have been everywhere. It shows the extent to which the society do not have much regard for the common man, except you are a celebrity. I think this is a general failure. Then let's cut to the next substantive issue. Okay? Now you pick them up. Yes, the demonstration the protest was violent. And that is the reason government must avoid protest. Because if you give space or you give excuse for protest to take place, you must be prepared for the consequences. Protest, nobody can. Like the other man was talking about. In those days, you could see nines during the military. Protests were vibrant protests in those days. Before you wake up, it is not now that you are saying go and give an excuse for you need permission for police. Who is that police that will give permission during the military era for protest? Before you wake up, All the roads are on bonfire. Tires are, or you see flames. And it's not this one that you say, oh, come and assemble at Ikeja, no, you start the protest for your own area. As the fire is burning in Sulere, so it's burning in Festa, so it's burning everywhere. So you don't converge at a point. Then the activists now know where to meet, and then the movement starts. You get it? Then there were those arms of the students, the nuns were there. There were those that were aligning with civil society. So once the activities are going on, they are going on there. So it goes with violence. And that is why government must avoid it ab initio. So you don't just wait and say you are looking for scapegoat. No. Okay? Now, why were it? They were just people who do not even know the meaning of the flag they were carrying. You say it's treason. Huh? Go to Mozambique. Up to this very week. Mass protest. And you see soldiers taking to the streets and guiding them. Soldiers are even in solidarity. Because they find injustice. Here people are talking about injustice. You tell them treason. What was the outcome of the protest? When they finished, Mr. President rolled out Rolls Royce. Private presidential aircraft. Which shows that the protest didn't really make it. So they were just mocking at it. And yet you detained them. People are saying end bad governance. You've not ended bad governance. You are charging them for treason. So should that not be an expression? I'll make a publication that this house may not fall. Being a lecture delivered by Tinubu when he was governor of Lagos State, 2004. Go and go through the content of that presentation he made at Nigerian Institute of International Affairs with Land. I covered it. He's acting opposite of what he was talking about government when he was outside the presidency.
Okay,
so we need
all right.
The leader, we need to hold them accountable, and that is one thing. And if you have these children, the children, they were acting in ignorance. Even though it's not an excuse. And I think these are the issues that before those who are in government, who tend to understand the laws, they should reason properly before they begin to roll out charges against people.
All right. Okay, so just like you said, so some lawyers had actually come out to say that under the Child Rights Act, it mandates that a child cannot be arraigned in a regular court, or publicly, as happened recently in Abuja. And the act stipulates that children must be dealt with in specialized family courts that cannot be detained in, adult correctional centers. But here, what happened in Abuja was quite the reverse of this. We saw that, they were all merged together with that. But now brings us back to asking the juvenile justice system in Nigeria. Is it really effective? Does it really work? Does it even exist, if I would put it that way?
Until those kids were arraigned, did you hear of anything juvenile court or whatever?
Or could it be that?
But I just told you that I dreaded welfare home while growing up because it was right there. It was very apparent that, and it was in the consciousness of every child then that there is a place for you. There's a place for your stubbornness. You understand? Now, some of these kids said they were actually locked up with criminals.
Yes.
Yes. So, and that answers.
The police had come out to deny it.
Okay.
But they had actually said.
And that answers your question. But before you indict journalists and the media, I keep making reference to Fisa Yoshiyombo's Foundation for Investigative Journalism. He slept at Kirikiri Correctional Facilities for weeks. The videos are there, everything. Has anything happened? Before he moved on to cover the Nigerian Customs Services corruption at the borders and all that. Now, before you can indict the journalist or the media for the existing one, what is it? What has been done? Bagala Kato was bombed in somewhere in Kano or Kaduna in the 90s. Till date, I don't know if any compensation had been paid to his family. What we are saying is that, look, some are sticking their necks and risking their lives to do. And those things are being discarded. The authorities looking the other way. And kids are coming to testify in an open court that, look, we were not fed and we were locked up with criminals. And someone actually said they were just feigning some kind of playing tricks by fainting and all that.
To
So
get the media attention.
can you imagine all that? So
When they were clearly
when
looking
you saw their clothes, they were so tattered, they looked so unkempt. And the same law, the constitution clearly stated that you aren't guilty until you aren't guilty until you are such pronounced. You understand? But I mean, so where do we start from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we start and where do we go? Who do we start to blame? Is it the systemic failure or the lack of patriotism on the part of citizens? And for citizens to be patriotic, what does the system owe them? Feeding, housing, education? Which one do we get now that will make the country to be boastful of array of patriotic citizens? I can't find any now. I can't find any now.
All right, let's have Sunny's last words while we wrap up.
Yeah, the issue is which law is actually working in Nigeria? You ask yourself. Now, look at the process through which those children were being released. Mr. President ordered that they should be released. Is that a legal process? A legal process was going on. And on the order, executive order, they were released, obstructing that legal process. Is that the rule of law? It shows the law is immaterial in Nigeria. As long as there's authority who can issue instruction and it's being acted on. Look at the issue of, take the instance of Rivers State, the Supreme Court judgment. An issue that is clear in the Constitution about the local government, funding. A Supreme Court is giving judgment contrary to the Constitution. Should that be a law? In working systems, if there is a vacuum in the Constitution, whatever judgment the Supreme Court gives becomes a law. How can you now give a judgment where there's an existing law? Now, the issue of these minors is not an exception. There's a total neglect about the prison system in Nigeria. You go and conduct investigation, you will see the extent to which people who are there. I'm even surprised that the former Minister of Interior had to name it correctional center. It's not a correctional center. It's a punishment center. Honestly, you need to go there and investigate. Or even go there and just have a survey. You see the treatment that they give to inmates. How they are being treated. How they are being underfed. How much did the former Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, said they were spending one day to feed prisoners in Nigeria? You use people's head to take away money from our national treasury, and that fund is not utilized there. You've heard of VIPs, the elite. When they go to prison, they are comfortable. When the poor goes there, he's just be treated like an animal. This minor gives us a wider picture of what is actually going on there. Not because they are minors. It's how those who are in detention are neglected. Now, let them tell us that the prison system is being underfunded in Nigeria. Then nobody will say it. So it's not about, these are minors. The poor are deliberately ignored by the authorities, by the system. So it's not just a session to the minor. It's just about every other person. It's rather unfortunate.
Really, really rather unfortunate. So thank you so much. Thank you all to Mr. Sunday Odibashi, the editor, National Daily Newspaper.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Mr. Inumal Shomale, the publisher frontpage.com.ng, and the assistant General Secretary G-Pan. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right, and thank you so much to our viewers out there that were also part of the program. My name is Nenwangi Mazaka. I'm sure you enjoyed the conversations we had today. Do keep a date with us same time, same station here in Galaxy TV every Saturday for more interesting conversations as this. As for now, goodbye.